Become a wealth creator today. Text VISIT to 800-454-1184 to schedule your 15-minute call with Eric and his team. That's VISIT to 800-454-1184.
Welcome to Wealth Creator Radio with Eric Heckman. Eric is founder and president at Heckman Financial right here in Silicon Valley. I want to start off by letting you know about the Wealth Creator Toolbox. This toolbox is something you can get complimentary, and in it includes Eric's book. Of course, he is an author. You know that. Worry Less Wealth. You get the book. And then there's some other educational reports that you can get, all designed to help you understand how you can retire well. So all you have to do is text the word toolbox to 800-454-1184. Toolbox. 800-454-1184. And then always remember you can find us online anytime at wealthcreatorradio.com. Today we're going to talk about how most Americans are failing. They're getting a failing grade when it comes to retirement literacy. Eric, a big hello to you.
Hey, Luann, it's great to be here and talking about what people really need to know, which is getting educated, getting information on money. I mean, it is such a critical thing. It affects every aspect of your life, and it's amazing how uneducated we are about it.
Right, it really is. And I know you're someone who's big on education. You have lots of education backing up what you do as a financial advisor. You have all kinds of licenses and everything. So I'm assuming that when you were in school, good grades were pretty important to you.
Yeah, I mean, I always expected to get good grades. It wasn't something that I ever thought about. You just did it. Usually in the honors classes and all that other type of stuff. And, one of the things that blew me away is, in hindsight, it might have been 2 days, but I remember one day talking about, checking accounts and something, and we may have talked one more day about loans or something, but that was it.
I know.
And I mean, think about how many days of school you had. I mean, if you're going K through 12, right, 13 years, I actually, I got a finance degree. You know how many classes in personal finance I had to take? 0. Even for a finance degree. There was one personal finance elective, which in hindsight probably should have taken since that's what industry I'm in now. But yeah, most of the finance is really all talking mostly about corporate. I mean, there is stuff on econ and stuff, and economics is definitely very personal finance related. So it's not that I didn't have any training in that, but it's still amazing that just a simple basic thing that we're all focused on is, trying to get, all the news is telling, people about how well they're employed or how many people have jobs and blah, blah, blah. What do you do with the check once you get it? What do you do with, how do you put money in savings or in 401ks, IRAs, all this stuff? Why is that not a huge thing? Because you know how many financial problems and how many society problems would be fixed by just educating people first about money, and then that way they don't get in trouble.
Right. Isn't that true in marriages too, right? Number one reason for a marriage failing is financial.
Yeah. So, I mean, it's amazing how many different things that percolates through. And so it's something that people really need to be always striving to do, because obviously it's also something that changes too over time.
Right. And so it is. It amazes me that we don't have as much, even in high school, for everybody in high school, we should have something like that. So anyway, because of all of this, what you're talking about, Americans do get a failing grade when it comes to retirement literacy. And that's what our show is all about. They're saying that females, about 89% of them flunked a 38-question quiz. Men failed the quiz, about 72% of them. But it's really funny. There's a huge gap there with the people are lacking in the literacy when it comes to retirement. What topics do you find most people are struggling with when you're helping them with retirement?
Well, it's all over the place. I mean, most people know nowadays, or at least the clients I'm talking to who are older typically, and they're closer to retirement. And most of them know the basics on, 401ks and IRAs, but sometimes they're shocked at how much tax they're going to owe. They don't really necessarily always know, how to figure out how money's going to last, how the money's going to come from, all sorts of things. And so, yeah, I think that's one of the critical things. And we've actually started, I think it's 12 years ago now, maybe. I started the Financial Knowledge Institute. And the Financial Knowledge Institute does a lot of talks at companies. We did a lot of community center stuff. Obviously, with COVID, all that had to stop, unfortunately. So we haven't been doing as much, although we did do some outreach work with some single parent group when the crisis first hit. And so that's one of the things that we've been able to do is at least do some outreach of how to help people and just give them some basic pointers and just how do you put some money away? How do you put some money in savings? How do you get all those things going? And once you know some of these things, it's a lot of it's pretty easy. It's kind of like dieting and exercise, right? The way is to lose weight and be healthy. You just got to do it.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, all of it takes time and takes effort, and no different than losing weight and being healthy. Financial matters are just the same. It takes time, but if you don't do any of those things, then you end up being in a world of hurt and being very messed up. Same often with your health, right? So same way.
Well, it's interesting in this study that they did, American College of Financial Services, about retirement literacy. So, Eric, I got to tell you this. More women are serving as their household's chief financial officer, which I think we know that. We talk about that a lot. They do all the daily and monthly bills, but they need help with their retirement readiness, according to this study we're talking about today, the American College of Financial Services. So what's the difference between managing your monthly household budget and having an income strategy for retirement?
Yeah, I mean, it's similar, but very different, right? So, having that paycheck in retirement is a critical thing. And where's that money going to come from? When you're working, it's just, okay, how much can you pay, your bills, and how much can you spend, and, all those kind of issues, right? So what we're really talking about in retirement is the same kind of thing, but more importantly, where's the income source? Usually when you're working, it's pretty easy. It's the paycheck. Well, when you're retired, you have to figure out where the paycheck comes from, right? So you don't get a paycheck from one source. You get Social Security, you get retirement, savings withdrawals, you get money you've saved up, all those things, and you have to create that lifetime income. And one of the things we have developed is this toolbox here that we have. So we've got a lot of resources up there. We've got a copy of my book. We've got a lot of educational materials that you can pick and select from and just download. So again, if that's something you want to grab, it's super easy. All you have to do is text the word toolbox, or you can even call and leave a message for toolbox, but text the word toolbox, 800-454-1184. Again, that's 800-454-1184, or you can download it directly at wealthcreatorradio.com.
Thanks so much for listening. This is Wealth Creator Radio with Eric Heckman. Eric, we often talk about conversations you have with couples and a surviving spouse, but single people have some additional challenges as well because it's all on them. What are some factors that single people need to consider for retirement planning?
Yeah, exactly what you said there is it's all on them. There's no other income. There's no, obviously making sure your money lasts is a really critical thing since it's just you. Now, in some ways, some things are a little bit easier because they don't have to worry about the surviving spouse or, the other person, right? So they can actually spend a little bit more money and, just making sure that there is somebody, a family member, or somebody there to help them out in case things go south, and especially health-wise. So you need to have that income plan that says, well, how is your money going to last? Will it last the rest of your life? You need that investment plan to see how much risk you're taking today, and is that too much or too little? At least you'll know before things go bad. So usually we just set up a 15 to 30 minute worry less wealth talk where we just find out what you're worried about, what concerns are. It could be on the phone or Zoom, whatever. Just kind of go over those basic things. Then from there, what we do is set up an actual blueprint meeting where we create that blueprint to worry less wealth, where we used to charge you a fee for, but now we're actually giving that free to people listening to the show. And so then what we do is we just go through that income, investment, tax, healthcare, legacy plan, tell you what's good, what's working, tell you what issues you might want to fix. And then it's up to you if you want to work with us or do it on your own. But at least then you get that information that's so critically needed. So yeah, definitely give us a call. Again, you can either text the word visit or call 800-454-1184. Again, text the word visit, 800-454-1184, or book directly online at wealthcreatorradio.com.
If something's worth doing, it's worth doing right. There's a particular time of life this phrase couldn't be more appropriate. How can you know you'll live the retirement you've always imagined? After all, life can be so unpredictable. You've worked hard and saved. Watch your accounts go up and down with the market. Your advisor says, don't worry, you'll be fine. But you still don't feel confident. Eric Heckman at Heckman Financial has a checklist to help you find out if you're on the right track for retirement. Take his checklist challenge. If you can check all the boxes with confidence, you may be ready for retirement. If not, Eric can help you address any potential costly mistakes. To get Eric Heckman at Heckman Financial's complimentary checklist, call or text LIST to 800-454-1184. See if you've got it right. Take the checklist challenge today. Call or text LIST to 800-454-1184. Firm offers insurance services. Investment advisory services offered through Heckman Financial and Insurance Services, Inc. Investing involves risk, including the potential loss of principal.
Hi, you're listening to Wealth Creator Radio with Eric Heckman. We have for you a Wealth Creator toolbox that you can get complimentary, which includes his book and a whole bunch of other educational reports that can guide you with retirement. All you have to do is text the word toolbox, 800-454-1184, 800-454-1184. Just text that word toolbox. So, Eric, in the past, we've talked about baby boomers retiring every single day in droves of 10,000. By 2030, all these people, all baby boomers, will be 65 years old. Up to bat for retirement will be the Generation X. Can you believe that?
Yep, times are changing, so that's going to definitely make some shifts in the economics and so forth.
Yeah, and even thanks to the pandemic in 2020, numbers have picked up even more. So when you have that many people leaving the workforce at one time, what do you say could be the potential impact on the economy? Anything?
Yeah, well, there's going to be a lot of things. Obviously, retirement stuff, destinations, adventures, all travel and stuff, which got slowed down by pandemic, but should be rapidly speeding up here in the future for some time because of all these baby boomers want to go do that bucket list stuff, right? They want to check off all those items. And so, when they do that, they're spending money, and that's going to be good for the economy. Now, of course, they're not going to be making the money. And so hopefully there's enough people behind them to help out. And then there will be a much bigger drawdown on the stock market because a lot of those people, as they get older, they want to have less risk, more guaranteed income. And so there's going to be less of a buying demand on the stock market from all those people that, especially once you're 50 and up, those are the people that are really socking away usually the most money because they realize they didn't do enough early on. Yeah. And so and plus just legally with 401k, you can do, you have that catch-up provision where you can do $6,500 more. So, there's a lot more money going into the market. And if those people all retire and start sucking the money back out of the stock market, yeah, that can definitely going to have an effect. And of course, healthcare is going to be another big effect. A lot of those people are going to need home health care and other issues. And there's going to be a big strain on that because I don't think we've really built up enough infrastructure for all that. So, yeah, there's definitely going to be some changing demographics going forward.
So get this. The first Gen Xers are in their mid-50s now. I'm shocked, actually. I can't believe that. But what would you want to say to help those people make the most out of these next 10 to 15 years, Eric?
Well, since I'm kind of one of them, not the mid part of the 50s, but early part, so yeah, I mean, this is the time to be really, like I said, putting the money away, putting it away right. I mean, right now we all realize that, Congress we've had tax bills that have been passed that had no way to pay for themselves, so they have to expire. We've had all sorts of, giveaways and handouts from the government to get us through the pandemic. And nobody's really talking about how to pay our bills back. And the only way the government pays their bills back is by taxes, right? So if the tax revenues don't go up, then tax rates go up. And so more and more, I would say, be looking at tax-free investing, tax-efficient, other options. I mean, you obviously can do Roth stuff. You can do after-tax 401k, convert to a Roth if you have that option. You can even do specially designed stuff with smart life insurance designs, but you got to watch out in that area because there's people talking about laser funds and other dorky names of stuff that really should not be used. And really, I just like to call it what it is and say what the tool actually is. But it can be a great tool also to have some tax-free money. So I think everything. Not only should you be, if you're in your 50s and up, saving a lot more, but you also should be way more tax efficient because odds are you already have a big old pile of money that's already going to be taxed. And when you hit retirement, it's going to be even bigger by the time you get there. So you're going to have some tax headaches. So don't add fuel to the fire.
Right. The question always comes up about, Social Security going to be there. Do you think Gen X can count on that?
Well, it's still, a very big unknown, right? Because if you go on their website, they always tell you that, hey, whatever year it changes a little bit year to year, but roughly somewhere in the 2035 range typically is where it falls. And usually it's, we could pay about 80% of our bills. It's like calling your mortgage company, say, I'm just going to pay 80% of my mortgage. It's like, no, they're not going to let you do that. And so, that's the tough part is you should be able to count on something, but of course it's getting taxed away also. So you get that money, then you pay tax on it. There's going to probably be something there always, right? Because it's something we all paid into. It's going to probably have to change a little bit again. And so, you got to take the action. You got to do stuff and you got to make sure, that money's going to last for the rest of your life. And I mean, we do have some resources. I don't have the checklist up there, but that's something people could also, ask us for. But we have a lot of tools up in our toolbox, and that's one of the things that you can request. All you have to do is text the word toolbox, or you can call and leave a message to request the toolbox. That's at 800-454-1184. Again, you can text the word toolbox, 800-454-1184, or you can download all the resources there at wealthcreatorradio.com.
And we thank you so much for listening. Glad you joined us. This is Wealth Creator Radio with Eric Heckman. I'm Lou Ann Fulmer. And Eric, if someone's in their 40s now, and I know they have a lot of time now before retirement, but what would you say that they should be doing right now?
No different than every other person, right? Just
save,
right? I mean, I've actually run into a lot of people who, they're in their 30s and they say, hey, I want to be done by, 50 years.
Yeah.
55 or even 45. And so just because you're young doesn't mean you may not, you may not be as close to retirement. It's just how are you saving the money? What are you doing? There's some kind of always truths, right? So if you're saving 15 to 20% of your pay, and some of that can be short term, just for emergency money, some that should be kind of medium term for the next big goal of, whatever you're going to buy in 3 to 5 years. But a lot of that should be long term. And, so if you're putting that money away, I don't care if you're in your 20s or 50s, you're going to do very well. And if your goal is to retire earlier, then you may even be putting more away. I mean, I met with one couple that, they were saving, I think, just about 50% of their income. But ironically, of course, they were thinking about buying a house. And once we did the math on that, I'm like, you're going to be down to about, 15, 20% of your income that you're going to be able to save. And they wanted to retire, super young, like 45 or something. And so it could be done, but if you're going to spend a ton on the house and depending on how that goes, right, it may not totally work. But as long as you're putting that money away, you're going to be able to probably retire earlier. There's no doubt about it. Everybody I've met with ever, the ones who saved big money early on have done better. So just putting that money away and being tax smart and doing a lot more Roth, other things, that's going to pay off in big terms in the end.
Right. That's awesome. The funny thing is so many people are wanting to retire so young. I mean, everybody who is in their 20s that I know of, because, my kids are that age, they're all saying, I want to be retired by 50. I'm like, wow, that's a lot of years to be retired. So I do hope they're saving. But getting back to the Gen Xers who are in their 50s, you mentioned being tax efficient. So again, the Gen Xers are in their 50s now. You are one of them, Eric. So retirement is getting so much closer. I want you to dive in a little bit deeper about what they need to be thinking about doing to get ready for retirement.
Well, obviously, we've been talking a lot about taxes and saving, trying to be more tax-free. The other big one would be, how do you have some lifetime income? It may sound early, but there's a lot of great products out there that if you have a 10-year runway, as I like to call it, time to speed up, you can have some great lifetime income that's increasing And, it can be a really great thing for you to have that, because if you get some Social Security, you get some other lifetime income, then you don't have to worry about your portfolio as much. But if you wait till you're like 1, 2, 3 years from retirement, which is what happens a lot of times when people are talking to me, the runway space is too small and it gets harder to do. So yeah, that'd be one of the things I'd be looking at. And again, you got to look at having a holistic plan. You want to look at everything together. There are some great new options, but people really need to educate themselves and find out what's out there. So that's something that if you wanted to take advantage of, look at those resources first at the toolbox. Check those out. If you want to set up a time after that, we can definitely talk and help you. But this is probably one of the most critical times, the biggest shifts we've had in the economy in a positive way.
Yes.
So you hear all the bad news. This is a positive. These are some great new options out there, some stuff I haven't seen ever before. So loving it, because we have so many more options for our clients. So again, if you want to get that, you can either text the word toolbox or you can just leave a message. Both of them would be 800-454-1184. Again, that number is 800-454-1184. Or you can request it directly online at wealthcreatorradio.com.
Do you know whether your retirement plan has any weak points? Discover ways on giving your financial future the proper tune-up. Simply go online to wealthcreatortoolbox.com to gain a better understanding in taxes, Social Security, and other ways to manage your portfolio.
And that's how it's done.
That's wealthcreatortoolbox.com.
We're talking about Gen Xers, and those people are now in their mid-50s right now, believe it or not. And they're not retiring in droves yet, probably, but they're worried that they might not be ready for retirement. Kind of like Bobby and I were, Eric, when we were in our 50s. So we don't talk a whole lot about Gen Xers on our show, but I think we're going to here soon, because they're the people who are coming up on retirement. These people have more than 10 years until retirement. What should their priorities be right now in terms of saving?
Well, of course, just putting that money away, right? Figuring out how to get every dime they can in there. Obviously, like myself, figure out how to survive tuition payments for right, for college costs. I'm done with one son, got one in, and then one more to go.
Oh,
so,
wow.
Yeah, that's one thing that definitely for a lot of people in that age group is going to be a money drain as you're trying to also save for the future, right? So, being smart about that and taking smart actions. So a lot of times a little too late for you to be doing 529 plans and all that if you're already, in the middle of the cost. But, figure out what's the best way to fund them, pay for them, those types of things. But really, it's always comes down to always the same thing. Are you saving 15 or 20%? Are you socking that money away? Is it going to be tax efficient? Do you have some, the three types of money? I mean, the three types of money are foundational money, steady income money, and market funds. So your 401k has only one choice. It's all market. Stocks, bonds, different types of markets, but it's all stocks and bond markets. So it's all risk money. In terms of your IRAs or your regular dollars, you've got a lot more options. And that's where you can have some foundational money, some stuff that's guaranteed to not lose money, stuff right now that's probably paying around 3 to 7 on average, hopefully kind of averaging, at least 5 to 6 long term. And then you have that steady income money. This is stuff that pays really high dividends, high income. Even if you don't need the income, you can obviously reinvest the income in the market or someplace else if you want. But this is stuff that's lower volatility. So typically stuff like real estate or credit funds, other things. And these are typically paying right now about 5 to 7%. And then, of course, got some growth on top of that. So, having those other two pots of money and not having it 100% in the market, it's going to be really great for you in those times when the market tanks, because then you have those other areas that you can run to and if you need them. But if it's 100% in the market and the market goes, 100% of your money drops. And so that's what we don't want to have happen, right?
Right. So if you do have the responsibilities, let's say, of, taking care of your kids, but then also maybe having to take care of your parents, sometimes we turn into the caregiver. Talk about how that can potentially impact your own well-being in the future, Eric.
Well, I mean, there's two things. One conference I went to now several years ago, I was down in San Diego, and they actually had I think it was UC San Diego, not San Diego State, but they had these people come in, and they had actually measured physiologically, and they could see the effects of caregiving I mean, literally, of people who were caregivers, it actually took a physical effect. And so that's one thing to be watching for. And then, of course, the other one's the financial effect. I had a client right after their youngest daughter graduated from high school was also calling me up asking me for advice. And they live in another part of the country now, but he was asking me advice on their dad who still lives here in California, and he was needing care. And so, yeah, it is definitely the sandwich generation, right? I had graduation on 1 week and trying to find a specialized care for your father. And that's one of those things that definitely is going to be more and more prevalent going forward. And there is some stuff you want to do and stuff you don't want to do. I mean, lots of times, like brother was initially saying, hey, let's just start giving them some money and we'll put it in their bank account. It's like, no. There's a lot of things that you can do in terms of getting some government help and assistance and other things that you would not be able to get if you give that money directly and stuff. So you definitely want to have some good advice when those kind of things happen. Years and years ago, I had somebody who was doing a lot of community outreach with, and we were in lots of different groups together. She had to take care of both her parents. They both needed care at the same time. She was in sales, and guess what? She had almost no energy to do sales anymore. And she was mostly commission-based, did like office products and stuff. And so her business was down a bunch. She made a lot less money. She couldn't put money into her retirement plans then. And so helping her parents for 5 years as they spent down everything and had almost nothing left to give her after they passed away, she lost a ton of time because not only did she not make money, but she wasn't saving money. And so then, that's kind of like a double whammy, right? So yeah, you have to be super careful about, how much you can help somebody. And sometimes you have to just say, hey, let some of the government, fail-safe programs help out or other things. But you don't want to jeopardize your entire financial future just helping them. So it's a tough spot to be for sure.
Eric, your blueprint to worryless wealth covers so many things. How do you help people with this issue right here of healthcare?
Yeah, well, the blueprint to worryless wealth, I mean, it's where we want you to worry less about your money and more about having fun and enjoying life. There's 5 areas. Obviously, you have to have income. So we have an income extension program, the income extender. We talk about investment optimizer. How do you make sure those are in the right spots? Tax minimizer for the rest of your life, not just one part at a time. And then that healthcare navigator. How do you go through all these stuff like Medicare and long-term care, home health care, all those types of issues and have the money there? And then legacy template. Who's going to get your money when you're gone? So, those are the 5 areas of the blueprint. Something that you really, really got to look at and make sure you have set up right and ahead of time. Not like I need this stuff for yesterday. Right? that doesn't work that way. And so that's one of the things we can do here at Heckman Financial. We first set up just a quick phone call, find out what your issues, what your worries are, and then we'll set up another time to talk over your actual blueprint, tell you where you're headed, go look at these 5 areas. And then it's up to you if you want to have us help you with it or if you want to take care of it on your own. But again, right now we're waiving that planning fee of $1,500. So, if that's something you want to take advantage of, all you have to do is give us a call, 800-454-1184. Again, leave us a message at 800-454-1184 or book directly online at wealthcreatorradio.com.
And again, this toolbox is complimentary. So this is just a way to honestly transform your worries of retirement into confidence. So all you have to do is text the word toolbox, 800-454-1184, 800-454-1184. Just text that word toolbox, something that we want you to get free of charge. Thanks so much for joining us. This is Wealth Creator Radio with Eric Heckman. I'm Lou Ann Fulmer. So the good news for Gen Xers that we've been talking about today is even if they're stressed about retirement, they have time on their side to keep saving. So I want to talk about what they need to be thinking about, Eric, to make the transition smooth as they head into retirement.
Yeah, well, I mean, mostly it's, of course, just having that plan, right? I mean, if you're just driving down the road and you have no idea where you're going, you'll get someplace. Right.
Yeah, but where, right?
But where, who knows? And it may be an interesting thing to do once or twice, but I wouldn't keep going that way. So really what you need to do is you need to have that income plan set up. You need to know where those investments are. How are they starting to transition into some more foundational and steady income monies, not just market monies? Do you have that that income kind of feel for it now, not just accumulation, because you need all that planning done. Those are the things that I think a lot of people aren't really just really thinking about, right? They just say, hey, retirement someplace down the road, retire, but hold it. I used to get a paycheck. How do I get one now? Well, one of the hardest things to do is, figure out, okay, if I've got all this money and I've got all these things here, where does that big check come from? Well, it's not a big check anymore. It's lots of little checks. So, that's the big thing that you have to do. So again, I think it's really a great time to reach out and get some resources and talk to somebody. So, if you want to, again, get that toolbox, get some information there. And then if you want to reach out, or if you have somebody in that situation, definitely have them get a hold of us and we can help them a lot. Again, you can either text the word toolbox or just call and request it at 800-454-1184. Again, that's toolbox, 800-454-1184, or request it directly online at wealthcreatorradio.com.
If something's worth doing, it's worth doing right. There's a particular time of life this phrase couldn't be more appropriate. How can you know you'll live the retirement you've always imagined? After all, life can be so unpredictable. You've worked hard and saved. Watch your accounts go up and down with the market. Your advisor says, don't worry, you'll be fine. But you still don't feel confident. Eric Heckman at Heckman Financial has a checklist to help you find out if you're on the right track for retirement. Take his checklist challenge. If you can check all the boxes with confidence, you may be ready for retirement. If not, Eric can help you address any potential costly mistakes. To get Eric Heckman at Heckman Financial's complimentary checklist, call or text LIST to 800-454-1184. See if you've got it right. Take the checklist challenge today. Call or text LIST to 800-454-1184. Firm offers insurance services. Investment advisory services offered through Heckman Financial and Insurance Services, Inc. Investing involves risk, including the potential loss of principal.
Hi, you're listening to Wealth Creative Radio with Eric Heckman, who is here today to help you create a retirement strategy. If you don't have one yet, you need to get one. And we have for you a Wealth Creator Toolbox that you can get complimentary, which includes his book and a whole bunch of other educational reports that can guide you with retirement. All you have to do is text the word toolbox, 800-454-1184, 800-454-1184. Just text that word toolbox. Eric, we know you get questions all the time about retirement, no matter where you are, whether you're actually working or just, in your leisure. So we're going to dig into your mailbag right now, and I'll ask you some common retirement questions that you've been getting, okay?
Sounds great.
Let you answer them right here. Okay, so here's our first one. Our first one is from Jenny. Jenny says, my husband's been laid off after 27 years of factory work. We had a good amount of money saved in our emergency fund, so we didn't need to panic immediately. I do think we are fine financially if he does retire, but I don't think it will be mentally the right choice right now. Who should we talk to?
Dr. Phil? Maybe?
The therapist?
Yeah, no. The odd part about my job is it does get to be somewhat psychology based, and
yeah, I
so
bet.
so that's always a little tough. No, I mean, making the jump to being retired is often tough, right? Because people say, "Oh, what am I going to do? What am I going to do?" And they have so much time, and I kind of like to call it wantment instead of retirement. Where you do what you want versus what you have to do, and it is typically amazing because I would find that 6 to 9 months after somebody's retired, we can barely get a hold of them, and then they find out that they don't know how they had time to work before before that. So a lot of times it does change, but it is also very stressful just withdrawing money from you've been putting money in one direction, right, for 30, 40 years, just putting it away, and then taking the money back out. People just a lot of times have actually very emotional, even sometimes physical reactions, like it freaks them out of why I don't want to take money out. And it's like, that's why you did it.
That's what it's
right?
for.
So, yeah. So it can be tough. Obviously, if you have a income plan and you can see that the numbers work, I think that takes a lot of the worry out of it. And obviously, it's why our process is worry less wealth. So I think that's something where, they could be definitely helped with that in terms of, seeing, okay, are you good? financially with being retired. And then it's up to you if you're emotionally ready to be retired. So that's a tougher one. Not one I can fully answer.
Do you find sometimes people will retire and then come to you after they've been working with you and come to you and they say, I got to go back to work. I'm too bored or whatever. Do you have that a lot?
Oh, a lot of them I jokingly call fail at retirement because they go back and get a job just because, somebody called them. I mean, I actually had one client that took a package from his company and then his company was so short staffed that they ended up, hiring him back through a temp agency because since they paid him to leave, they couldn't hire him directly and stuff. And so it was kind of weird because he left and then he was gone for a month or two and then went right back. And so, he's like, well, it's good money. I might as well keep doing it. And so people do that a lot. Yeah,
I bet so. In fact, I had a friend who did that too. They retired, had a big retirement party for him. And then he went, wow, I'm spending too much money. I better go back to work. So anyway, okay, here's another one for you. This is from Phil. Phil says, I inherited an IRA from my father a few months ago, but I have no idea what to do with it. Where do I start, Eric?
Yeah, these are super dangerous now because you have to be very, very careful. So ever since 2020, there's a new law that says, when you roll these over, so you want to be very careful and roll that into an inherited IRA, or sometimes people call them beneficiary IRAs. And so it still has your father's name on it and then your name. And so what happens is you now, under the old rules, you could stretch it out for sometimes 20, 30, 40 years, and you just had to take out so much every year. This one, if you inherit that in 2022, you have to have that account spent by 2032.
Whoa.
So you got 10 years to kind of blow through the money. Doesn't sound very good. Why are you blowing through dad's money that he's worked all his life to save, right? And it's really just to get the tax money back. Obviously, you don't have to spend it, but you do have to withdraw it. So you also don't want to wait till the 10th year and take it all out then, because that could be a nasty tax hit. So often we usually just say, hey, let's take out 10% a year and just, keep taking it out over time. But you do want to be very careful. So the new rules are no requirement to withdraw the money, but by the 10th year, it has to be all gone.
Yeah. Okay. So kind of a requirement.
Yeah. So you might as well start doing it now. Yeah.
Exactly. Okay. So, all right. Anybody listening right now, if you have questions about that, certainly Eric and his team are here to guide you with that and a lot more. Eric's phone number, 800-454-1184. Eric, tell them what that appointment is like when they come in and see you, or maybe just virtually in a Zoom call.
Yeah, so usually we just set up a 15 to 30 minute worry less wealth talk where we just find out what you're worried about, what concerns are. It could be on the phone or Zoom, whatever. Just kind of go over those basic things. Then from there, what we do is set up an actual blueprint meeting where we create that blueprint to worry less wealth, where we used to charge you a fee for, but now we're actually giving that free to people listening to this show. And so then what we do is we just go through that income, investment, tax, healthcare, legacy plan. Tell you what's good, what's working, tell you what issues you might want to fix. And then it's up to you if you want to work with us or do it on your own. But at least then you get that information that's so critically needed. So yeah, definitely give us a call. Again, you can either text the word visit or call 800-454-1184. Again, text the word visit, 800-454-1184, or book directly online at wealthcreatorradio.com.
And this is Wealth Creator Radio with Eric Heckman. I'm Luann Fulmer. We're going through some mailbag questions. This next one is interesting. It's from Al. Al says, is it wrong to not want to leave an inheritance for our kids? They seem to argue all the time over everything, even as adults. Nothing ever seems fair enough. And then Al says, plus we paid for braces and college and cars and weddings. I feel like that should be enough.
It's totally fine. I mean, if you don't think they're going to be good stewards of the money, then yeah, you don't have to leave it to them. Often I find also that, once there may be grandkids, well, then the story might change a little bit, right? And, and so, yeah, you could leave it to differently there. You also could leave it to a trust and then have somebody else spend the money out to them. If you've got a friend that's ideally younger than you, because if they're the same age or older, it may not be as good, but there are options and there's ways to actually build that into a plan. So with a good plan, you can have that done.
Here's another one. We have a female now, and this one that she says, Eric, what are some good resources to help me learn more about my options for Social Security?
Yeah, so with Social Security, there's, probably sometimes I think one of the worst ones is actually calling them, because what I find is they love to be what they think is nice, and they'll often when my clients are applying for Social Security, they'll actually say, hey, we can get you 6 months backward. We'll give you this big check. Well, the part they always forget to tell people is, that big check sounds great, right? So, people get very tempted, but it also means that you're going to go backwards 6 months in age and get that benefit, which means you're now locking in your entire lifetime benefits lower.
Less.
Yeah. And so for most people, that's about a 4% drop.
Oh, no.
So one of these things where, okay, yeah, it's nice to get that 6 months of check, but now you've lowered your income for life by 4% for forever.
Yeah. Oh,
so, so that'd be one thing. There are some unique situations. If you're widowed, there's some benefits. If you're divorced, you can still get your ex's benefit potentially, half of their benefit if you were married for at least 10 years. So, their website, Social Security's website, isn't bad. It's, they've done better about improving it and stuff. They do have some tools even on it now to kind of help you figure it out. One big problem with Social Security is they went paperless. So those statements they used to send you, they supposedly send them to you when you're 61, but lots of times people when 61 still don't get them, but every once in a while somebody randomly gets one when they're younger. So who knows what their actual system is? Nobody knows. But yeah, one of the best things you can do is just look it up every year. So, go to ssa.gov, which is Social Security Administration.gov, and you can create your own account, get that online anytime you want. And yeah, I would say, especially maybe around tax time, great time to be looking that up and just go there and say, hey, what is my Social Security benefit and such? So, if you're just looking that up, just by watching that alone, you're going to at least, get some idea of what it's going to be. So again, all this stuff takes education and knowledge. One of the things that we can do too is we've got a great little tool up in our toolbox. And that's one of the things that you can request. All you have to do is text the word toolbox, 800-454-1184. Again, you can text the word toolbox, 800-454-1184, or you can download all the resources there at wealthcreatorradio.com.
Become a wealth creator today. Text VISIT to 800-454-1184 to schedule your 15-minute call with Eric and his team. That's VISIT to 800-454-1184.
Hey, thank you for joining us today. This is Wealth Creator Radio with Eric Heckman. On our show at this time, we always discuss some challenges, maybe even some risks that exist in retirement. So I wanted you to give us an example today of someone who's experienced one of those retirement obstacles, as we call it.
Just kind of reminds me of we'll just call him Joe, but he came to me and he was, one of these guys who loved his job, wanted to keep working, but then finally started saying, hey, maybe I should slow down here and, make it more work optional kind of thing, right? So he wanted to start finally doing some planning. The only issue is he was about to turn 70. And so he put everything into pre-tax stuff, so 401ks and IRAs, and he was worried about taxes. Well, at 70, it used to be you had to be 70 and a half where you had to take your money out of your IRA. Now it's 72, but still, he's already at Social Security max age. So he's got that income coming in. And with everything being taxable, the tax planning is not much, right? It's just pay the tax. So, so it's pretty tough to do stuff like that. Now how do you talk to me 5-10 years earlier, we could have been doing some stuff. We could have had some time to maybe do some conversions or at least fund some stuff differently or move some money around. But when 100% of your money is all pre-tax, guess what? When you take that money out, it's 100% taxable. So that left me not much options in terms of what we can do, because then also in another year, not the same year because it's 72 now, so he has 1 year gap where he could do, we can finally do a little bit of stuff, but it's very small compared to had we had a little bit more runway to kind of take off kind of thing, right? So yeah, and that's one of the problems I run into a lot of times is people it's we're all bad about that, right? We all like to procrastinate, and there's always those people on the news where they're dropping off their tax return on at almost midnight at the post office. Although nowadays it's more push the button, hit send, right? But it's one of these things where we like to procrastinate, but man, it can cost you a ton of money by doing that. And so, if you do just take some time and say, okay, how can I have some more diversity? Because the other problem too is almost all of his money is in the market, so he had a huge amount of risk. Yeah, if you're 5 to 10 years out, that's when you really need to sit down and take some plans. So, again, that's something if you want to take advantage of our time, hey, we'll go through that planning process. We'll show you the course you're on. We'll show you your blueprint to worry less wealth. We'll show you that income, investment, tax, healthcare, and legacy plan. And then it's up to you if you want to work with us or not, but at least you'll get that information. Again, we're waiving that fee. So, if you want to set up a time, you can either call and leave a message or text the word visit to 800-454-1184. Again, 800-454-1184. Text word visit 800-454-1184 or book directly online at wealthcreatorradio.com. That's all for this week's show. We'll be back next week. Thanks so much for listening.
Information provided during Wealth Creator Radio is for illustrative purposes only and does not constitute investment, tax, or legal advice. Information has been obtained from sources that are deemed to be reliable, but their accuracy and completeness cannot be guaranteed. Always consult with a qualified investment, legal, or tax professional before taking any action. Annuity guarantees are based solely on the financial strength and claims-paying ability of the issuing company. Individuals should thoroughly review the contract for specific details of the product features and costs. Income payments and withdrawals from deferred annuities are generally taxable as ordinary income in the year they are taken. Eric Heckman offers investment advisory services through Heckman Financial and Insurance Services, Inc., a registered investment advisor. Any tax advice given as part of this presentation is not intended to be used and cannot be used by the taxpayer for the purpose of avoiding tax penalties or promoting, marketing, or recommending to another party any matter or transaction addressed herein. The views and opinions expressed in the program are not necessarily those of the radio station or its sponsors, and they should not construe as legal, tax, or investment advice. You should always consult the appropriate advisor before making any financial decision.